Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 2 Pucks Hockey Chat with Mr. Scott and unbelievably awesome Chris. And I got two adjectives that time.
You did sneak two in, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I am very happy to see everyone here joining us this evening. We are live on Periscope, so as always, feel free to drop a comment and always say where you're from and let us know what part of the world you're watching from, and we'll say hi back. 2L Pucks, as always, and we'll review this in the stream in a little bit also, but you can always find us on Twitter at 2L Pucks, Facebook at 2L Pucks Hockey Chat, Periscope at 2L Pucks, where you're at right now, and our email, 2lpucks@gmail.com. So, once again, Sunday, January 12th.
What a great Sunday it is, too, by the way.
What's that?
So what a great Sunday it is, too, by the way. Just got done watching 8 rounds of a shootout between the Penguins and the Coyotes, where the Penguins came away victorious. And again, fun, exciting 8 rounds. And I believe the Penguins have just taken all three games on their recent road trip. So just wanted to make sure that was pointed out, that they are now solidly ahead of the New York Islanders. That's right. I'm sorry, I forgot. It was the New York Islanders, solidly ahead of them in the standings. So, but by all means, go ahead. Let's kick it off.
No, it's not. I have nothing. Keep going. I'll let you enjoy the moment for the first time this season. I don't want to take away anything from you.
It's actually been going on for a couple weeks now, but let's get to some substance here. Let's get to some good stuff.
Yeah, please.
So I mean, if I'll start rolling with it. So we had another firing this season. This time, the New Jersey Devils made a move and fired GM Shero. So this is an interesting firing, because especially considering they just signed him to a multi-year extension back in April. But it was an hour before the Devils were slated to take the ice against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The basically team's managing owner was in front of the media and said, it's just past the midway point, and team just wasn't getting it done. So Shero was out. So the statement says both parties agreed that it was time to go in a different direction. Based on what I know of Shero, having been GM of the Penguins, it sounds to me like once again he wasn't getting along with ownership. Butted heads in New Jersey, just like he butted heads in Pittsburgh. But they went into today at 16-21-7, 39 points, tied for last place with Ottawa for second to last in the Eastern Conference, 13 points out of a playoff spot. And with Shero having been there for 4 years, the Devils missed the postseason 3 times and sat near the bottom of the standings 2 of those 4 years. And this is all despite Shero spending money on guys like PK Subban, Nikita Gusev, Wayne Simmons. And, the other funny thing, too, is he already fired the head coach, John Hines, and then traded Taylor Hall. So, I mean, I guess he kind of, I don't know if he just had a screw it kind of mentality, knowing his time was running short. But, just not a good way to end his time there in New Jersey. So, big deal with that firing. And so we'll see what happens. They're going to bring Marty Brodeur in to serve as the advisor to hockey ops. So again, another name familiar with the Devils, but we'll see what happens in their search for their next GM.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. I don't know what to say to that one. That's pretty nutty.
Well,
it's just like, do you think that GMs are starting to maybe not be as fearful of pulling the trigger, since it's kind of being validated that firing coaches is kind of like, it's almost like a bandwagon thing now? They're gonna, like, they won't be called out maybe as much by their fan base, because they can use the excuse, well, like, they could say, look, this other team wants to win, so we're making a move too. Is that type of thing?
So it's what really makes this what really makes this weird is that the time of the season that it took place, um, I guess maybe they wanted to put another GM in who would one agree with ownership and
Hmm.
two would be on par or would be on the same page when it comes to the trade deadline.
Right.
There's really not a lot that the Devils are going to be able to do to climb out of the hole they're in. The teams that are ahead of them just keep plugging away. They just keep
Right.
opening more space. So it'd be one thing if it was in the off season you were going to retool or rebuild or something like that. So I'm just not. I really do have to think that this was just literally a ownership was fed up. He may have done something or said something recently, and
Right.
they decided it was time for him to go.
Right.
He's already fired coaches, so GMs are typically allowed to. They can hire a coach, they can fire a coach, they can hire a coach, but then when that second coach that they bring in is gone, typically the next step is for them to go. But the GM the GM's not really going to be able to make that much of a change on the ice at this point in the season. So I really do think it just has to do with where they want to go for the trade deadline, um, especially since you're probably going to have a different GM. Like right now, it's an interim GM. You're probably going to have a different one going into the next season. So
Right.
it's a strange time for it to happen. Um, so I really don't have an explanation. I don't know if they were fearful of what um, Shero was going to do, or if they just said, "Okay, I've had enough. You insulted my wife, or whatever whatever it was," and just like that was it. So
Right.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Well, I don't know what to say to that. I don't.
I,
It's just like you get to a point where it's just you keep hearing it and like what what else can possibly be said about it? And I don't know if it's going to be that much of a change. I don't like. Well, I think we discussed this maybe a handful of broadcasts ago. Like I don't understand the Rangers or like the Rangers and the Devils. Like I just don't have a feel for those teams. I don't know. Like maybe a little bit more. I have a feeling with the Rangers because they do have young prospects and they just haven't pulled the trigger on some things. Like they have that third goalie that they brought up that they're questioning whether or not to play with Georgiev and I forget the other guy's name and substituting out Lundqvist. But with the Devils, didn't I just read something that they were going to bring back Corey Schneider also?
yes. So what you would have thought would be big news is that he was recalled from the AHL.
Yeah.
But no, the Devils really just had to go one up, hold my beer moment, and announce that they were firing the GM. So yeah, I think it's interesting too with a franchise like the Devils and a franchise like the Rangers that you brought them up, right? There's an expectation from the fans that you have to put something on the ice, and you're hesitant to call it a complete rebuild. You're hesitant to burn it down. You're hesitant
Yeah,
to yeah.
I'm sorry, but I
Oh,
see that with the Rangers, right? Because you see that young defensive core they have, and they're good. They're going to be good. You can tell they're going to be good on defensively, and with the Devils, there's such a mishmash. Like they had young, old, even with the goalies, young, old, and then Taylor Hall, and then like, but then they have other guys. I don't get a feel for chemistry or for a direction or for anything out of that team.
well, I think with the Devils, we talked about it just like you said a couple broadcasts ago, where I think the fact that they had good goaltending that really carried them through, and really they were punching up out of their weight class. I think it kind of covered up a lot of problems that they had, and
Right.
it's interesting too because Shero is usually pretty good at building a team, and in fact, he's been gone from the Penguins now for a couple years, but his stamp is still on the current team,
Right.
which is winning without without a lot of their core guys, a lot of their top six guys. So I just think that there was some miscalculation on what players were going to be able to do. I think there was some, like I said, goaltending covered up a bunch of flaws on the ice, and I think that Shiro just was not on the same page as ownership. Whether it was the same thing like with the Ron Hextall situation, where Hextall wanted to go slow, the Flyers wanted to speed things up,
Right.
uh, and the Flyers are paying for that, and we'll see what happens with the Devils. So
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There's only so much you can talk about with that. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
we did mention goalies, and I wanted to throw this in real quick. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it either. But Pecorine became just the 12th goalie
Yeah.
to score an NHL score a goal in NHL history, and that was this past Thursday night.
It was a good one.
And yeah, yeah, and it was the first time in. It was the first goalie to score a goal since Mike Smith did it in Phoenix. I did it for Phoenix against Detroit on October 19th of 2013. So 7 years since the last time a goaltender scored a goal in the NHL. So
Right.
um, yeah, good for him. Definitely is an exciting story. It's a feel-good story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that
It
was
was definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice. And just a correction to a statement from you earlier about the Penguins being solidly in second place.
Solidly in second place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Islanders have played the least amount of games out of any other team in the division and are 2 games behind Pittsburgh. So, as always, allowing those to be wins, which they will be, that still puts the Islanders ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Solidly ahead. Keyword that you made.
The Pittsburgh Penguins are not clear of the Islanders yet. If you're clear of the goal of the game differential, then I would say they solidly have it. But as always, the expansion and the playing of truths when it comes to Pittsburgh Penguin news with you is just a little unreal.
Hey, solidly ahead. So let's move on to the next story. Let's move on to the next story. What you got?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to stay on the Islanders then, because they are an enigma team, and just glancing through some stats, and we're looking at categories such as goals, assists, points by players, right? So, goals, assists, points, goals created, plus minus, right? Even strength goals, power play goals, right? About 6 categories right there. If I look at each one of those categories and look at the top 20 players in each of those 5 or 6 categories, how many Islander players do you think are in each one of those categories?
I would say if you're talking top 20, I would probably say 3 to 4, okay, roughly average for all of the categories.
0.
Really?
Not a single Islander anywhere in the top 20 of all the point producing categories for the entire NHL.
Like how I set you up with that one?
What's that?
Like how I set you up for that answer.
Thank you.
Dramatic, yeah.
And if we want to expand it to some of those boutique, not boutique, but like those little niche categories, like shorthanded goals. I mean, okay, it's nice, but Casey Zizekas leads the league. Tied for third with 5 other people. So he's tied. I'm sorry, he's tied for first with 3 shorthanded goals with 5 other people. So, I mean, however, if we look at and just take a moment and put everything into perspective, right? Because I want to be fair. If we look at the goals for the Islanders, okay, and this is obviously where they're having difficulty. They're ranked 26th in the league out of 31 teams. Okay, now obviously that's a problem, but we look at goals against, and where do you think they are, sir?
You think you're saying goals against?
Yeah.
Goals against average?
No, goal total. Sorry, lost my earpiece. Total goals against as a number, not an average. No cheating.
No, I'm trying to think. So I mean, they got plus 11 differential. I don't know. I'd probably say somewhere in the middle of the
They're number 2 in the league.
Number 2.
They've let in the least amount of goals, second least amount of goals behind the Dallas Stars, who've let in 105 goals.
Yep.
New York Islanders have let in 110. Right.
Okay.
And if we look at goals for based on games played, so as an average, The highest average scoring team is the Tampa Bay Lightning with 3.64 goals per game.
Yep.
Right. Once again, if we look for the as we scroll down the list, once again, Islanders ranked 21 out of 31, 2.77 goals per game. However, if we go goals against based on games played and we take it as an average, the Islanders are fourth in the league. Okay. Now stay with me on this, right? Power play percentage. Where are they? Take a guess. They're right in the middle. Although they're 18
Okay.
out of
All right.
31. Okay.
Yep.
18.9%. Penalty killing. Same thing, right in the middle, 17%. So as we can see,
Yep.
they're playing a very, very tough style of hockey. They're working harder than they need to in order to keep the goals down, right? So they can win a game 2-1, 1-0, 3-2. And that's why you see during these Islander games that these stats come up that, oh, every time the Islanders have let in 3 or more goals or 4 more goals, they've lost 80% of those games or 85%, whatever it is.
Sure.
So I think it drives home the point, and what you hear about the Islanders, even covered on media sources, NHL Network, and so on, is one of those teams to look out for before the trade deadline is the Islanders. They need a scorer, right?
Yep.
Now, if we look at this, and I would agree, because I think if you have a balance, and you have that balance, I don't think one natural scorer is going to disrupt the chemistry of what's going on there. If anything, it's going to increase. If you get the right guy, it's going to increase what's going on defensively. If that scorer also is a somewhat of a leader and a team player, and blends with the chemistry of what the Islanders are doing and how they're buying into a team system right now, Barry Trotz. But remember that a scorer is going to be able to set up the other guys on his line. So we're looking at overall, goal output across the board being better. And I think you're going to see an explosion of goals, because I don't think they have a guy that naturally is a goal scorer or a natural goal setter-upper, right? Assist guy. I mean, there are a couple. Bailey does a good job at assisting. You have guys like Barzal is very good at looking to set people up. Brassard, I'm really liking his efforts with the team. So, and I know you wince when I say Brassard as far as your experience with him, but he's blending in with this team pretty well. So, thoughts on that, Scotty?
No, I mean, I think one, it's a testament to the team play. So I'll kind of spin it a different way. You're right, where they're having to work pretty hard to win. But you also, just as you pointed out, you get to a point. There's a fine tipping point, and once you get past that with some teams, they can't recover. Right, they're just not scoring at a good enough pace. So
Right.
Certainly to your point, you need somebody that can complement Barzal. I think that's really who you need to target, somebody that can play with him. And it's interesting too. I was looking, and apparently there's some rumors out there that some teams have approached the Islanders, looking at the
Sorokin.
chances. Sorokin, yeah.
Yep.
Calling him the best goalie not playing in the NHL.
That's true. He's
So
carried that title for a couple of years now.
yeah. So there's it depends on what they want to do, and it really depends. Does Lou think that the team has a chance to make it now, or to do some damage now, or and leverage the future? Because again, you kind of take a look. I'm not too confident in the goalie situation on the island right now, as far as what's upcoming. They've got there's a couple other goaltending prospects that are in the system, but I mean, if they can bring Sorokin over, that might help shore up their future in the net. So it all depends on what Lou wants to do, and then if Lou wants to go for if Lou wants to go for a rental or a long term. And so really the other thing too is right now you're looking at rentals, meaning unrestricted free agents at the end of the
They're not going to do a
season.
rental.
The going price for that's a second round pick.
Yeah, they're not gonna do a rental. I mean, yeah, I mean, if honestly, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
too upset if they gave away picks or whatever. But I think we already have a deep system. We already got plenty of guys to play with in Bridgeport. So
So what I
there
would
are
say
guys
is,
doing well. Kiefer
yeah,
Bellows is doing well.
yeah. What I would say is that I think based on the stats that you threw out there, if the right pick for a long term or the right partner for a long term deal doesn't come by, I don't think Lou's going to budge. And I don't think he should. There's something to be said for getting in the playoffs. There's obviously something to be said for the learning experience that goes along with that. But um, they're not a team that goes and then just implodes, right? That they're not
Right.
okay. We made it great, and then you lose in 4 games, right? So I think there's some growing pains that teams go through, and I don't think that you really need to make a deal right now.
Well, then let me
Um,
throw this at you.
yeah,
When does a team know to go all in? How do you know?
typically, when
Because
you're on.
it's just these guys just get 1 year older.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I mean, it's tough to say. Are you missing one piece? Are you missing two pieces? What are you missing? Like where are your strengths and where are your
I
weaknesses?
mean, there's no teams playing just to be in third place. I mean, they don't. There's no teams that are going through the season saying, you know what, our team's about being the best third place team in the division this year,
That's true. That's true. But
right?
if third place gets you into the playoffs, and then it's anybody's game at that point. So yeah,
Right.
I know what you're saying. It's tough to judge. So again, we talked about Ray Shero earlier. Ray Shero went out 1 year for the Penguins and brought in like Jerome again. I mean, he brought in all these guys, and they
Right.
just weren't the right fit. They broke up chemistry, and they were never utilized correctly.
Right.
And then they were gone and traded all this stuff away. 1 year he went out and he brought in Marion Hossa. Marion Hossa played with Crosby, and they made it to the finals. Didn't win, but they made it all the way to the finals. And that's what they needed, right? Like they needed to have a guy like Hossa who's a game changer come in, right? Penguins went out and got Phil Kessel. Kessel is another guy, and I quote the Penguins specifically not just because I'm a fan, but because they won back-to-back cups, um, and with some shrewd moves that were made by the GM, and then back in 2009 they won. So um, there are you build with a core, and certainly with the salary cap you have to win with the core. So I think you take a look at contracts. I think you take a look at contract length. I think you take a look at when do guys become UFAs, RFAs, and what you can leverage, whether you can leverage the future for a win now. It sounds to me like while the Islanders are good blue collar. Like they are certainly keeping pace, right? Like they're absolutely
Right.
keeping pace with the division. Um, that it might not be the time to pull the trigger because there may not be a player, because that's the other thing you got to look at. There may not be a player available at the trade deadline to bring in that's going to make that much of an impact.
Right.
So you don't waste.
You don't waste it. I agree with you.
Yeah. So
But say there is, like, who other than Taylor Hall, who would be the obvious one at the end of this? Well, see, before the trade line, actually, who would be available now?
so the LA Kings are
Tyler
going to be.
Toffoli, right?
Yeah, Tyler Toffoli's one, Chris Kreider.
Right.
I mean, there's a couple of names that are out there, but again, what do the Islanders have that they're willing to give up that the other teams are going to need to take advantage of?
And I don't think of Tyler Toffoli as being a scoring savior.
No, certainly not. You're really probably going to be looking for some complementary players. So yeah, who knows?
Right. It's like, why would you do that? Like, that's and why would you bring in a player that might mess up the chemistry that you have? Like, if you're gonna risk the chemistry, you better do it for a guaranteed stud
Yeah,
that's gonna bring something to the table.
yeah, yeah,
That
especially
if he
depending
does,
upon.
if the chemistry does get screwed around a little bit, then at least you can say, yeah, we're missing a little bit out here, but at least he's putting pucks into that.
Sure, sure. And then you definitely don't want to disrupt by getting somebody out of the locker room that was a leader as well. So
We should
yeah,
have gotten Panarin. We should have
it's a,
had Panarin.
well,
It's
yeah,
unbelievable what he would have been doing this year with this team. It would have been insane.
yeah, well,
That's honestly, think about that for a second. If Panarin was on the Islanders this year, realistically, and I'm not just fluffing
sure.
this out there, he would have perfectly slotted in on the top line, right? I mean, there's your boost in goals right there. I mean, this guy's a point per game player, right? So throw in another four. I mean, we're four. How many games in? 45 games in on the season. Put another 45 points up on the board.
Yeah,
Where does that put us? I mean, that's
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the I don't know what the decision was behind it, and
yeah.
hindsight 2020.
It
But
was more money. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
onward and upward, sir.
All right.
Um, interesting little tidbit here that the let me throw this up on the board here. We have uh, courtesy of the Boston Globe, I believe this is bostonglobe.com. Yeah, it is Boston Globe. The fourth ranked Boston College lost to the number 10 ranked UMass, snapping the 10-game win streak by Boston College. So it was a pretty momentous game. It was the first 10-game win streak for Boston since October and November of 2015. So pretty significant game. UMass is 14-6 and 14-6-1, and Boston is 12-5-0. So interesting. So if there was a 10-game win streak, that means when they were on a losing, they were 2-5-0, and then went on a 10-game win streak. Awesome. So they're going to be playing again, I believe. When are they playing again? I think it's in a couple days. Bear with me.
Saturday.
Yes, Saturday night in Amherst.
Yep.
And I love this picture here of this guy almost getting decapitated. Number 19 putting the big kibosh right there on number 24. Look at that. His head's almost clean off. Awesome.
It's just a flesh wound. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
flesh wound.
So I mean, and that's the thing too. UMass was outshot 42-24.
Yeah.
You know, and in college, yeah, you have great college goaltenders, but typically when you start throwing up shots on goal like that, there's a heck of a lot more that go in. So I think there's a lot of credit needs to be given to goaltending.
Yep.
And really, it was 3-1. So it wasn't like a crazy game. Didn't get out of hand. But yeah, I mean, those win streaks are always awesome. Killing a win streak is always good. And those are two good hockey teams. New England, typically their college hockey is just good. And so yeah, it's exciting for both those teams. Certainly, you don't want to see the streak end. But as you pointed out earlier, when the Islanders were going on their streak, at some point in time, you almost want to just get it over with so you can focus on something else. So yep.
Good stuff. So, I wish there was some of that televised. Do you know of anywhere where you can get is any of it televised or no? I don't think so.
Probably not. I mean, there may be some online streaming options that the schools might put something together. Certainly something we can look at or look for and share if we want to. But yeah, I'm sure it's on the local channels, but yeah, I'm not aware of anything that's out there right now. So.
All right. And
so
I'm gonna go back. You got something?
Yeah, I got a couple quick things. So
go for it.
Yeah, the last players are selected for the All-Star game.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed there are no fireworks or anything going on behind me because really don't care. But the Toronto Maple Leafs forward Mitch Marner, St. Louis Blues forward David Perron, Washington Capitals forward TJ Oshie, and Vancouver Canucks defenseman Quinn Hughes made the cut thanks to
Vegas
fan.
Golden Knights, Max Pacioretty.
Yeah. So, well, yep. So those four players that I just mentioned were the results of voting for the last men in
Right.
that was online. So I think at this point in time, I don't know what have has like pretty much the entire roster, original roster selected. They've all decided to sit out, and these are all replacements that are in there, or
Yeah. Right.
something like that. So I read an interesting quote online. It says, and it was basically addressing the All Star game. It said, "Hey, congratulations! You're one of the best players in the league, and instead of giving you some rest, we're going to send you basically to a circus. You know,
Yeah.
like." So again, we've touched on that a bunch of times, but
And Dylan
yeah,
Larkin, you saw his public apology to, which I feel bad for the guy. He's between a rock and a hard place.
yeah,
He puts
I,
out an apology saying, "I embarrassed the Detroit Red Wing organization. I shouldn't have said what I said." I mean, you're allowed to say you're tired. You're allowed to
yeah.
say you don't want to go. I
I
mean,
mean,
he didn't say anything crazy.
No, Marc-Andre Fleury said the same thing. Alex Ovechkin said the same thing, and I think it's all warranted. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no reason for any of the players to apologize. I would say I think that NHL players or hockey players in general are probably closer to fans than really any other sport
I would agree with you.
when it comes to that emotional connection. But there's nothing to apologize for. And to be honest, that's one game, and I'm sure
Right.
fans would rather see their favorite players um, playing a lot more and making it into the postseason than sacrificing their time for one player or for excuse me one game.
I would agree with
So
you. And I've been thinking about it since we had the discussion about the All Star Weekend and how it's such a topic and how the league has played around with the format and so on and so on. And I mean, I've been thinking about it to make it 2 days of skills, and you could make it like a pro am thing where you're playing, you have pros matched up with fans and doing little fun games against other things. I honestly would watch that just for the reaction of the fans,
yeah,
and have charities there that maybe they're doing things that generates revenue for charities for each of the players that they're involved with, and having representatives. It would be such a
yeah,
beautiful way to interact with the community and the fans for 2 days, and the players wouldn't be dreading the fact that they're skating around. It would be fun. It would be kind of relaxing.
yeah. But I got to tell you, it's good for the community where the game is held.
Yeah,
Um, but it doesn't do anything else. Like, let's be honest, the All Star Game is nothing but a marketing ploy
it
for
is
the NHL. It doesn't
because
do anything for the players. It's not there. And I really gotta be honest with you. If they did away with it, I wouldn't be upset.
right,
So, I mean, let's just leave it at that. I think the players would rather be at home, and if
right,
they're single, they'd rather sleep in their own bed and wake up,
right.
play Xbox for a couple days. And if they're married and have kids, they'd rather be home with their wife and kids rather than putting them on a plane and having to drag them to to a place where um, it's just not there. I agree with you. I think if they could make it to where they could interact with the fans a little bit more, have just like you said, like I'll tell you, it was again. I share this story a lot, but when Brent Burns came to play pick up hockey with us in the morning, that was incredible. That was
Yeah,
awesome. And there were no expectations, but we were out there playing with Brent Burns, and I was passing the puck to him. I was defending. I was knocking the puck off his stick, and
right.
it was incredible. So
You
yes,
knocked the puck off a stick.
oh absolutely.
Oh, now I know you're lying.
No, 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 no. And in fact, so I'll throw this a little bit out there. So I'm playing defense. He's out on the ice. He's on the other team, and he brings the puck up and he gains the blue line because I'm backing off. What am I going to do against Brent Burns? So he thinks he's going to put the puck between my skates and go around me, right? I closed my skates, stopped the puck, and he said, "Oh, expletive," and then had to basically broke up the play. So
Yeah.
then he gave me a tap on the shins as we left the ice after the shift was over. But yeah, like I
Hmm.
took the puck away from him, and it was awesome. And
That's
then
that's the moment that you remember forever.
yeah, absolutely. And then he
Yeah,
set me up for a quick one timer in front of the net. The next day he was out playing with us,
that's
and
awesome.
so again, like yes, you absolutely. So yeah, you're right. You're going to make memories with the fans.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest with you, unless teams are running contests to fly fans there specifically, and you pack the place wherever it is with fans from outside the general area or the local area. I mean, again, the players would rather be home. I don't, I don't really think
Yeah.
you're gaining anything. But anyway, so
Gotcha.
enough about that. The last thing that I wanted to hit on, and again, we can make this real quick. So
Yeah.
Zach Cassian uh, went ape shit on Matthew Kachuk, and Zach Cassian is now going to face a hearing on Monday. So um, on Saturday, the Flames and the Oilers played,
Yeah.
and it's so Kachuk throws a hit on Cassian, um, and threw actually a couple hits, but Cassian basically Kachuk hit him and then hit him again, and Cassian just went nuts. Um, it was crazy. Like I don't even know what the deal was with this, but I mean, he
Right.
was just
Lit.
throwing. I mean, he pulled him from behind. He threw him down. He started, just hitting on him. I mean, it was just insane. And uh, you talk about so football. Parents don't want their kids to play football because of the
Right.
violence and everything like that. I mean, these are the types of things when you get guys out on the ice who are just wildly throwing punches and just grabbing guys from behind and just wailing on for no reason. I mean, there's just no place for it in the game. So um, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. So I
Yeah.
mean, just Cassian just looked like he had just lost his mind. Like there was just something in his eyes that was just he just went nuts. So he's going to have a hearing on Monday for roughing aggressor. That's what they're going to hit him with.
Right.
I didn't get a chance to look to see if he's a repeat offender. I don't think he is, but um, it was just nuts. It was just nuts to see. That stuff has no place in the game. Although, to be fair, I appreciate, I guess, using that term loosely, the fact that it was a response from the play as opposed to a staged fight, on the next shift where guys come out and ask each other if they want to go.
Right.
But Cassie didn't even get Chuck a chance to defend himself, just grabbed him from behind and started wheeling him around. So
Yeah. Yeah.
no place for it in the game. I hope he gets.
Beat up.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he gets. At the very least, I hope he definitely gets a fine. I hope he's not let off the
Yeah.
hook, and maybe a suspension. So
Yeah. I'm with you. Very good. I found this cool little article, and this is more of a sort of like a photo recap of a hockey tournament called the where is it? The Pups and Pros game, put up by Dawg Nation, and it's DAWG. I'm going to put this up on the screen now. So this is courtesy of SummitDaily.com, and this is highlights from the Pups and Pros game in the Winter Classic Dawg Nation Pond Hockey Tournament on Saturday, January 11th at North Pond Park in Silverthorne. This is out of Colorado. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph here because it kind of sets it up. But it says, when you think about hockey, one doesn't normally associate acts of human kindness, but Dawg Nation is different. Their purpose is to help hockey players and their families in times of crisis, illness, and debilitating injury. This weekend, over 400 hockey players, ranging from kids to professionals, teamed up at North Pond in Silverthorne to play 119 games over 2 days, January 11th through 12th. And it's really nice to see just the hockey community doing something like this. It's just awesome. I mean, you got former pro players and going against some of the local guys, the beer league guys, and you got young kids in there, and everybody has their own team jerseys, and they made up different little tiny rinks on the pond. It's awesome. I mean, this is what it's all about. Here you go. Here you have the pros beating up on 8-year-olds, and here you have the pros checking the 8-year-olds, and here you have the aftermath of the 8-year-olds flat on the ice. So as you can see, maybe the draw might have not have been as fair as you would think, but all in good fun. It's all to raise money and awareness for people in need, or as I mentioned, with debilitating disease or injuries or whatever it might be. And it's obviously for a great cause. And it looks like everyone had a great time. It doesn't matter if they're on the ice; they're all there smiling. So everyone had a great time. Really nice to see. Excellent looking event. Lots of snow on the ground. Everybody looks to be in their element, and awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hockey is a sport that really doesn't have the participation on a level that is anywhere near, say, football or basketball or soccer. And biggest reason why is the cost. It just costs so much money for equipment, ice time, all those other things.
Yeah.
Um, but to see an event like this, where organizations come together, and a lot of times they'll help fund for equipment, or they'll
Yep.
they'll they'll pay for the ice time, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
Again, it really just drives home the type of connection that hockey players have with each other, and um, the interest that hockey players have in reinvesting their time into their communities, and other communities, and these types of events.
Absolutely.
Again, we've talked about it before, but you see players that they recognize fans, and they give them sticks, or
Yeah.
they take time like Carey Price did, to give that kid a hug and just spend time with him and talk to him. And that's something that, again, there's just a different there's a different type of person that plays hockey, and they give back, and it's really great to see an event like this. And I bet some of those old guys, even after beating up on those kids, are probably feeling a little sore after being out on the ice and playing with those guys. So
Yeah.
um, it reminds them of their youth while they're on the ice, and their old age when they get off. So
Yeah. Very cool stuff.
yep, definitely.
All right. That is all I have for this evening, sir.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to throw in?
No, no, I think it's good. There was a good story to end on, and
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good place to call it quits for the evening.
Yep. That was a well-rounded broadcast. A little potpourri, covered everything. But thank you very much. Once again, everybody, you can catch us at 2 Old Pucks on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on
Gmail.
Gmail, Periscope.
Yep.
We're here for you. Feel free to send a shout out, an email. Let us know you care. But thank you very much for joining us. We will be back on Wednesday the 15th, and we will see you at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But thank you again for joining, and hope you have a great night.